I mean, I don't imagine people will be watching this as much as listening to it.
That's true.
Yeah.
While they paint.
While they paint, yeah. Hopefully that's what they're doing. Getting them excited to get some hobby done.
Yeah, what are you working on?
Well, tonight I've got a Japanese infantryman from Warlords. They're jungle fighters or they're veteran.
Yeah, those are cool. Those are really cool.
Yeah, the models are super cool. I've already cut up a couple of them and changed some stuff.
That's right. You like to do conversions on metal stuff.
Yeah, I started with the U.S. paratroopers because I really like the metal ones from Warlord, but the poses are pretty limited.
Right.
Sometimes a simple head swap makes it look totally different. I've done some more drastic ones, but it's just kind of become a habit now, and I like having the unique models.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, the metal, man, it's tough though with the cutting the head off a metal model is like a big commitment. It's like you can't turn back from that.
Yeah, and I'm not a sculptor at all. I know a lot of people use green stuff and really put detail.
Have you ever tried it?
It's been many years. I've got this Tester's putty that I just got from Hobby Lobby, and it's not really a sculpting putty. I think it's more of like a filler.
I've done some green stuff a little bit, but not a whole lot.
Yeah.
It's hard, man. It's really hard.
Yeah, I'd like to try it at some point. Yeah, I think that just takes so much more time. It's like a hobby inside the hobby to be able to actually sculpt details. So yeah, usually I'll just slap plastic pieces on and use a little bit of that putty for filler. Sometimes I even use like Elmer's glue for filler if the gap is small enough. That actually seems to work.
Oh yeah? Huh. Haven't tried white glue for that, but that's a good idea.
Yeah, like small gaps for sure. If you're doing anything big, it doesn't work. But you like if I cut a metal arm off and then glue a plastic one on, that usually can't get that connection flush. So a little bit of glue helps. But
right.
What are you working on tonight?
I'm doing the Beckus Command Challenge thing. I don't know if you've seen that or not.
I've seen some stuff on it. What is it exactly?
It's well, he's a guy named Paul Beckus. He has a YouTube channel, and it's a gaming channel, and he's gotten diagnosed with cancer. So people are just doing little challenges, command stands. It's supposed to be so a headquarters unit or something like that, and just commit to doing. It's kind of like a challenge, sort of, where you're commit to do a project and then you show your steps and show the completed model at the end.
Gotcha.
Pretty cool. It's nice. I mean, it's nice that nice way to at least show your support. I mean, there's not really anything we can do, but just show support. So I think that's a cool way to go about doing it.
For sure, just like showing solidarity, pretty much.
Yeah, it's a fellow gamer, fellow YouTuber, fellow gamer. So I guess he's out of. I've been reading comments, and it sounds like he's had his surgery and it went okay. So hopefully he'll be back. I don't know him personally. I like the idea of the challenge, and I wanted to show my support as well. So I just jumped in on it.
Is the challenge for like any game system, or is it just historical, or
anything, whatever you want?
Okay, anything goes. That's cool. Yeah, I'll have to check into that.
Yeah, I'm doing the Vercingetorix model, or Vercingetorix and Caesar talking to each other. It's a little mini diorama.
Yeah, sweet.
I didn't have all my command is done, so it's like I don't have any actual command, but I mean Julius Caesar's pretty good for a commander.
As many as you can get, I think.
I think he counts.
Yeah, just barely squeaks in there. Have you
Vercingetorix as well.
have you by chance ever listened to Hardcore History by Dan Carlin?
Oh yeah, yeah. I listened to the World War One version, the Countdown to Armageddon, I think it's called.
Yep.
And then recently I listened to that Celtic genocide or something like that. Something about it's all about Caesar in Gaul and all the crap that he did to the Celts. And that one was interesting.
Yeah, I think that's the Celtic Holocaust is what that one's called.
Yeah, that was it. That was it.
Yeah, I mean that's probably my favorite podcast out there, and he just, I mean, first of all, like I never knew anything about Rome and in Gaul.
Oh, I know it's fascinating stuff, man. Because I'm building that Roman army right now, and so I've been listening to a lot of books on audio or Audible, and just really diving into the history, and it's just amazing all the stuff that was going on, and just it's like you don't even need TV or fantasy or fiction at all. You can just our own human history is crazy enough that there's stuff that you would never believe happened that actually happened.
Right, all the real stories are actually happening, are real, and
Yeah, it's crazy.
so many avenues to like explore. If you don't have time to read a book, just listen to a podcast or an audio book.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I love that Audible. Do you have that?
I have it. It's funny, because when you sign up, you get a free book. I don't know if that's still the promotion. But I signed up and I got this book called SPQR.
Yeah.
Because I actually listened to some of other hardcore history shows on the Roman Empire.
Do they have more than a Celtic one?
Yeah, he's got some like classic episodes. They're not on the feed right now. I had to go to his website and buy them. I think they were like $1 each, so it's reasonable, but it's just a little more of a headache. Kind of
Yeah, that's cool.
but yeah, he's got some on the just kind of the fall of the Republic and how it transformed into an empire, and then he got a whole series on the war with Carthage, or the 3 wars with Carthage.
That's cool.
I thought it was super interesting, and so I my free audiobook, I got this book called SPQR that's basically the history of the Roman Republic, but I don't know if it was just how it was written or if it was the narrator they chose for it, but it was pretty dry. It was hard to get through as an audiobook.
Yeah, the narrator can make a pretty big difference for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, that's my foray into the audiobook world, and has been much successful past that, but I know a lot of people use them, and they're a great resource.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you told me that because I was about to get that one too.
Oh, really?
So I'll probably skip it. It's not like there's a shortage of books on there about Rome, that's for sure.
That's pretty legit.
So many.
So, so you're working on this Roman army. That happened to be coinciding with the Infamy release.
It is, yes, definitely. That was my main reason. Well, I actually got it when SPQR the game came out. I got a copy of the starter set from Warlord, and so I had them. And then I just built what was in the starter set and kind of set them aside. And I built the barbarians or the Celts that are in there for Warlords of Erewhon to be barbarians, and I added to them because I wanted a big Warlords of Erewhon barbarian army. And then Rick Priestley wrote a Roman list for Warlords of Erewhon, right around the time that SPQR really started heating up. I mean, Infamy really started heating up. So that both things at once kind of occurred, and I was like, all right, I'm going to expand this Roman army. And so I just been knocking out just frontline Roman troops for weeks now. I got about five 8-man groups of them right now.
Is that like you doing them in batches? I assume they're pretty much all the same.
Yeah, all the regular guys are all the same. The only difference is I'm giving half of them the Pelum, and then the other half's going to have the Gladius. So there is a little bit of variation, but other than that, they're all identical. So I'm just painting them in. I build 8. I paint 4 at a time, and then I paint the movement tray for them when I finish all 8. So I can get 8 done in a week easily.
Oh yeah. Yeah, when everything's the same color, you can kind of not rush through them, but you just get into the rhythm, and like nothing really takes you by surprise.
Yeah, the assembly line method, I love it, especially for armies like this. Plus I'm using some speed painting techniques as well with them. I'm using contrast paint for the skin, and I'm not doing any extra highlighting, just putting the base color down, putting a wash over it, and then going back over and highlighting with the base color by itself, and that's it.
Gotcha.
They look passable from tabletop distance. When you pick them up, they're not that super great, but when they're all assembled together from tabletop distance, they look pretty impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just talking to a buddy and talking about like contrast paints and like how much detail you put into stuff, and like I was just saying when they're on the table, I don't even notice anything about them except that they're there. It's almost just a blob in your vision because you're just focused on other things. So
yeah, during the game, you definitely don't notice. It's only like if you do a video or you take pictures during the game, then it's all worth it because it looks so cool and it's all put on the table together and all laid out how you wanted it to be.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, during the game, it's hard to really focus on the models themselves.
Right. My brain is just working so hard trying to think of good moves to do while I'm playing a game. I've found out that I'm probably a better hobbyist than I am a general. But
yeah, that's an interesting line. Is what do you consider yourself more of a hobbyist or an actual gamer? So you sound like you're more of a hobbyist.
Well, I really enjoy both parts. I think the hobby side has a lot of benefits. You see a project through to completion. Um, Maybe not in historicals as much, but like you get to express yourself a little bit creatively, maybe more in like the technique with historical miniatures. Um, it's something that I can just kind of do on my own, and I don't have to worry about anyone else's time. Except my wife and my babies at this point.
All right.
You don't have to get a bunch of people involved. But then the gaming side of it, like I love just strategy and tactical decisions, and actually the social aspect of it has been really, really great too. So,
do you have a store nearby that you go to?
Oh yeah, we've got a great one. It's called Gaujo Games, and basically the whole store is built off historical wargaming, and
Cool.
so they've got all the fantasy stuff. They got Lord of the Rings, they got Warhammer, they got 40K. I think those are still kind of like the money makers for the store because that's what's really popular.
Yeah, 40K is what is the money maker usually for these stores. Yeah. That's kind of how my store is too. It's very historical. There's a lot of historical gamers that go there, but there's also a lot of 40K gamers as well. Compared to the other store in town, which is almost 100% 40K, it's nice to have a store in town that is more historical focused.
Yeah, it's awesome, and they spend like a ton of time on their terrain. So I spent some time on terrain, but then I started playing there. You know, like my terrain was cardboard boxes turned into houses, and I just wanted something to put on the table. I wasn't trying to invest a bunch of money in my terrain, but I started going to this store, and they've got everything, and it's such a high quality. When I stopped doing terrain, I was like, oh, I'll just start playing there.
Yeah, it's so cool. Yeah, the terrain makes a huge difference. I mean, the hobby is just so multifaceted. I mean, there's the terrain, the models, the gaming side of it.
Mm-hmm.
If you have like a YouTube channel or something, then you got that part of it, and then in there you have, you know, the technical side, and then you have the just everything involved with it. There's just so many aspects to it.
Right. And I've just been like really excited to have you like to talk to you today, because your channel Tabletop CP is definitely one of my favorites, and I think it's because you balance all those aspects you just mentioned really well. Because you do all the painting and all the modeling, right, for your channel?
Yeah, yeah, I do. Well, Andre does some of the terrain, but I do all the, you know, 99% of everything.
Yeah, yeah, and like your models are gorgeous, and what you've put up on Instagram and Facebook and your Patreon, which is great. But then like your battle reports. Spend a lot of time on YouTube watching stuff, and I think your battle reports are the only ones that I'm actively following right now, because I feel like you've hit a nice mix of, you're not just you're like right in the middle between someone just pointing their camera at the table and letting it record for 3 hours.
Yeah.
um, versus, I don't know, something like, you've ever seen Little Wars TV, where they do a really clean like summary of the battle and they make it fun, but you don't get any of the gaming, like the actual gaming aspects.
Yeah, it's hard to finding a good format is the hardest thing. I mean, like you said, there's the 3 hour long still shot with every single bit of minutia being shown, or there's the 30-minute, you know, summary type, which are fine. I mean, I don't have anything against it. I used to do them like that, but just over the years, I've just learned from interacting with people and seeing their feedback that, you know, when I was doing the summary, they were always saying, we want to see more. And I'm like, well, what the hell am I going to do? I can't just show everything. And then over time, I just learned what to cut out, what people wanted to see, which is mainly shooting and saving rolls.
Yeah.
And anything important that happens, but pretty much we don't show any movement. Cut out most of the stuff and just show what people have indicated that they want to see.
Yeah. Well, I think it's working. You just hit 4,000 subscribers.
Yeah. Yeah, it's only taken like what, 5 years? 5 years.
It's a grind for sure. But I mean, for wargaming is pretty niche on its own.
Oh,
then
definitely. Oh, for sure.
And then you zoom into historical narrative wargaming, and it's even more.
Yeah, it's super niche. It's not something that there's tons of people out there searching around for, that's for sure.
Right. So hitting 4,000 subscribers in that market that's a big deal. So congratulations to you on that.
Yeah, thanks, man. I think the main thing is well, the format is important, but also you have to be consistent with it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we always put one a week out, sometimes two even, but if you're only putting out one video every like 4 or 5 months, it's going to be hard to really get above it, but I don't know what number that would be, but yeah, it just takes a lot of effort, that's for sure.
Yeah, I was
But
talking.
really, it's not any effort to it. It's not that really that hard, so it's not like I'm putting any effort into it.
No. Well, like, so how much time do you spend actually editing those reports? Because you're cutting out all the movement and stuff. You said that's not as exciting.
Yeah, I don't. Well, I do it all with the camera at the time. I start and stop the camera every time you see a break in the video. That's me literally hitting stop on the recorder.
Oh, okay.
So I upload the video and that's it. I mean, it takes me about half an hour to do like the intro screen and the music.
Right.
And then I just add a 1 second transition between every clip, and that's 2 clicks to do that, and that's it.
That's so efficient. I did a couple bold action ones, and I do video work.
Oh man, I know. I remember seeing yours was like top notch. I remember when I first saw it, I'm like, okay, how long did this take to edit?
Way too long. I think I put up 3. One of the well, the first 2 were kind of tests. They were just on my bare kitchen table. And the third one, I kind of put more effort to making it look real good, and they've been received really well. People want more of them, but yeah, so much time, and it's not just getting through the game, but then I go through the whole thing and I write out a script, and then I got to record it, and then I edit everything to match the script, like time wise.
Right.
Just
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's just I mean, yeah, if I had to spend that much time on it, I'd probably do only a couple a year because that's a lot of work.
not efficient. I mean, honestly, I've had one sitting on my hard drive since July, I think, because I filmed it, and it kind of ended. It was kind of anticlimactic in the ending.
Right.
And then to spend hours, putting it together, I've just kept putting it off and putting time into other things. And
Oh, you mean the game itself was anticlimactic?
yeah, it wasn't a very exciting game. I had a German army and a Soviet army, and kind of the idea was I've got a Panther on one side and an IS-2 on the other, and it was kind of themed around which was the better like big tank. And
Just those two?
no, I had some other vehicles and then some infantry.
Okay.
It was I made up a scenario where it was knock out the enemy big tank, keep yours alive. I think it was like turn 3, the IS-2 blew up.
Game over.
Yeah, I finished the game, the 6 turns, all the filming, and then I started writing the script, and I've tried a couple times and just been like,
Yeah. Yeah, that's part of the problem. I mean, not every game is going to be an awesome, epic game. Sometimes they just are duds, and there's not really much you can do about it. The dice gods step in, and that's that. Or it's just a bad scenario, in my case, a lot of the times.
Bad scenario.
Sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I think what helps with yours too is a lot of your reports are actually the linked campaigns or command or vector, and so at least if the game is not the most exciting one in the world, like it affects the following. So you still.
Oh yeah, definitely, and definitely for Chain of Command, the pint-sized campaigns. I mean, they're cool that way. A lot of them, if you without the context of the campaign, and you just watched one video on some of you're like, what the hell? They just ran up there, no one fired a shot, game over. It's like, what kind of game is this? But I mean, it is part of a campaign and a story, so there's reasons for that. But if you don't know that, you just click on one, you're like, what? That's a kind of boring game, but
Yeah.
it's all part of it.
Yeah, well, the narrative element, and then the fact that you're saving your troops for later battles, and
Yeah, that's why I love Chain of Command so much. Just the campaign just makes all the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Trying to do bolt action is fun, but it's not really campaign. It's not a campaign game, so it's a lot easier to just throw your dudes out there and just blast away, though, and that's exciting in itself.
yeah. I was talking with someone about bolt action, and I mean, it's the game I play the most. Part of it is like I only have so much time to devote, especially with a newborn now.
Right.
And the community here in Salt Lake is small. It's growing, but it's small. So like the fact that I can just get a bolt action game in is like an accomplishment.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, you have to always adapt to what people are playing around you as well.
Sure, for sure.
That's half of it right there.
I've always thought Chain of Command is more of the game I want to play.
I think it is. I know it is.
Well, I mean, I'm a history nut. World War II has always been my area of study. And yeah, I love bolt action as a game, but I find it a bit generic. I find it odd that, at least for myself, I'm kind of in this historical mindset. And when you've got like a 6-turn limit and it's capture the objective in the middle, and you just rush all your guys forward on turn 6. Just
yep. Yeah, I know what you're saying, man. I mean, I agree. It's a fun game to just throw down, but if you're looking for something with a little more meat historically, then yeah, Chain of Command's a better way to go. Not putting down bolt action. I mean, I still love that game, and that's how we got started. So I'll probably always play it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of the community, a lot of the guys around here where I live play it, so that pretty much means I got to play it.
So, do you get to play a lot of the games? I know you go like with your outside community. I know you go to, is it Ogre's Den is one of the stores in your area?
Yeah, that's the store I go to. It's my local game store.
Do you get to get there much? Because I mean, you were putting out so many battle reports. I know you're doing most of it in the nerd cave, but
yeah. I mean, I go down there at least once a month to play a game. Either just with one person, or they have a lot of events as well. Yeah. A lot of big bolt action events there, which is really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Got Joe and Andrew made like this giant D-Day board. It's gigantic.
Yeah.
It's like 8 feet long. It's the whole beach, and so every D-Day we bust that out, and that's really cool. And then we get people down from further out of town that come out for those things as well, that we don't get to see very often. So that's always cool.
I think it's cool that you get to be a part of that, but also you've got 4,000 subscribers, but you've got like your Facebook page too. It seems like you've actually developed a really good community just right there, even if you're not necessarily interacting face to face with people.
Yeah, that's just something I just did on the side. But you're right. The people that are in there are really cool. There's never any jerks or anything, and everyone's got a good attitude and isn't taking anything too seriously, and everyone seems to get along there. It's just, I don't know. That's not by design at all. It just seemed to happen that way. I think it's just the nature of tabletop historical gamers is just to be friendly towards each other, it seems.
Yeah, I've not seen the people pointing out minute historical facts or
the rivet counters. Yeah, there's no rivet counters. That is kind of interesting. But I think if you are a rivet counter and if you spend a little bit of time in a group, you'll notice that there aren't any other posts about rivet counting. So maybe you just have enough sense to not start. I don't know. That's just theory, I guess. But
Yeah, it's cool. It's I mean, you're at the point now where you've got people sending you like 3D printing models, and you guys are
oh yeah,
sending campaigns and all this different stuff.
yeah, it is cool. I mean, the people, they're fully, we're all in this together type of thing. Where like Greg, he has a 3D printer, and also another guy, Sam, had one. He was sending me some stuff, when it's obscure stuff.
Yeah.
Like I need man, I wish I had this, a BMP2. Where the hell? I'm looking around. I don't see a BMP2 anywhere in 156. Oh, but then Greg has a 3D printer, so he said, "Hey, I'll print one for you." And like 3 days later, it was here, all ready to go. Just had to paint it, and it looks great.
Yeah.
It's 3D prints have really come a long way since the first time I saw one. They look really nice.
Yeah, I was definitely against 3D printing for a little while. I couldn't stand all the lines, and they just. Well, I actually enjoy putting the kits together too for most of the vehicles. Um, but yeah, recently I've come around to it, especially when I need the obscure stuff. But even if I need multiples,
Right. That too. Yeah, that's another good point is if you need 3 or 4 of the same tank, if you go through Warlord, man, that's going to be $150.
yeah,
But 3D print, you could do it for, I mean, if you have your own, you can do it for free virtually. But even if you buy them, you can get them for maybe $15 each.
and if you have a 3D printer guy, you got to hook up, then you're really set.
Yeah, yeah. Greg is really he loves 3D printing, and his seems to work all the time. I was asking him the other day, it's like, don't you ever have any problems with this thing? Because I've talked to other guys who have them, and they're always fighting with them or ordering parts, and it's like that's kind of made me not want to get one. But I was talking to Greg, and he's like, I haven't had any or he said he did have problems with his old one, which is a high end one, and he bought a kind of a middle grade one, and it hasn't had an issue. So I don't know. Maybe one day.
That's another hobby within the hobby, I think. And I got a buddy printer. And I bought one Warlord Hago resin tank. I think it was $35.
Right.
And then I paid my buddy to print out 4 more, and it was less than what I paid for the single Warlord tank.
For sure.
They're great.
I think they probably only spend the amount of resin or plastic in the 3D print, probably like 15 cents.
Yeah, it's really cheap. So I try to give him like something like for his time also, because I don't want to just say, hey, I need this. Can you make this for me? But it just is great. And I've got this Japanese armor platoon I'm working on right now. I don't know how often I'm even going to get to really use it. So it's just another reason to not shell out $35 on every tank.
Yeah, but having a platoon of tanks is definitely cool. Most of my tanks I got, when I was building for bolt action, and we weren't playing tank wars, so I pretty much have one of everything. I only have a couple of actual tank platoons, and I wish I had more. I wish I had more, like a platoon of Panzer IVs, a platoon of Stugs. I mean, there's a lot of things I wish I had a platoon of. So if you have the chance to get a whole platoon at once, I would just definitely say go for that.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Even just to have on the display shelf, I've got them all lined up right here, and I want to play some very early war battles like Japanese versus Soviets in 1939. But then also if you've seen the Pacific HBS series or read any of the books on Peleliu.
Oh yeah.
Big counterattack. I think it's mostly Hago tanks, and they're just, game-wise, they're horrible little tanks. Just to get them all out, on the table will be super cool. So I'm gonna write a scenario for that. That play that.
Well, that's one of the rules of tabletop gaming is if you make a model, you got to get it on the board as soon as it's done, somehow.
Yeah. Preferably painted.
Oh, definitely painted. That's one of the rewards of getting it done is you get to use it.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you were saying earlier about scenery and everything, and your terrain when it all comes together and your opponent brings their army they've been working on forever.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's kind of the culmination of all the aspects of the hobby is when you finally get two nicely painted armies on a nice board with nice terrain and go at it. I mean, that's ultimately what it's all about.
For sure. So do you think Chain of Command is going to continue being like your flagship game moving forward? Because I know the Infamy's coming out. A couple other great games out there. Do you think you'll stick with Chain of Command mostly, or?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm still not tired of it. We've been playing it for years, and I just don't ever seem to get tired of it. I got tired of bolt action a little bit, so we cut back on that a little bit, but or a lot, I guess I should say. Considering we used to be bolt action CP in the day, and that's all we played. But I think we played that out. It took about 2 years, but Chain of Command, I just haven't gotten tired of it yet. So I think it's just mainly due to the campaign system and just the game mechanics themselves are really nice. But I got a new game called 7TV Apocalypse. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it. I don't really know anything about it.
So it's like it's a skirmish game. It's a real low model count, but it's very narrative. It's pretty much it's set up like the book, and all the terminology in the book is setting it up to be like you're running a TV show. So you have your stars and your co-stars and your extras, and those are the different levels of models. So your stars are like the best models, and extras are just your minions, and yeah, it's pretty cool. It's very narrative. So you write a little TV series, and each game is its own little episode of this TV series that you're playing. So it's a campaign, and it's just up to the limits of your imagination what you can do with it. It's got everything from mutants to robots to Planet of the Apes to germs, whatever, any kind of apocalypse you can think of. They have characters that you can use, and it's fun. I played a few practice games of it just solo, and it's got good mechanics. I think it's a pretty fun game, and I really like the idea of writing a little TV series with each battle being an episode of a TV series.
Almost sounds like a post-apocalyptic, like American Gladiator type thing here.
It is, yeah, definitely. It's definitely post-apocalyptic, but it's so broad-based that you could use this game to have the apocalypse whenever you want. I mean, if you want to have it during the Old West or during World War II, you could do it then. I mean, the character cards and the choices you have are generic enough that they can be put in any setting. Like the one guy's called Ultimate Survivor. That's just one right off the top of my head. That was the one I was using when I was playtesting.
Mm-hmm.
And that's very generic. Your Ultimate Survivor, he's one of your stars, but he could be an Ultimate Survivor in any setting. So they make it generic enough to be able to play it with any models you have, pretty much.
Right. I feel like I've seen a lot of games come out lately that are kind of set in that, not generic, but it's so broad that you can use whatever models you have and play out any number of scenarios or eras, or it leaves it up to you and what you have to put on the table.
Yeah, I like that idea of that because you have a lot of models sitting around from some game you don't play anymore, and suddenly you can bust them out again. That's what, like Warlords of Erewhon is the best example of that I know of.
Mm-hmm.
any model you have, just there's generic army list and you can start playing. So it's all about the game mechanics really at that point.
Right. And you're working on a historical mod of Warlords of Erewhon, right?
Yeah, just as a little side project. Try to turn it into a historical game. So there's going to be, well, obviously we'll remove all the magic and the monsters.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the magic effects of the magic spells will remain, but they'll be transferred to the commander of the force. Sure. So it's going to turn the commander into kind of a really important model, more important than he is already. It'll put him on par with maybe like the level of a chain of command leader in terms of effect and importance. So yeah. he'll have the ability to rally shock off of or pins off of units, or the follow command, which is part of the game. He can have anyone within a certain amount of range of him activate, kind of like the rule in bolt action. What's that rule called? The up and at 'em? No, not up and at 'em.
Snap to action, I think.
Snap to action. It's like that, but it's any unit within 5 inches can do that. But then I'm going to add like a musician, a banner. So musician would like double the range of that follow order. So every unit within 10 inches of him could activate. That's pretty much just to be able to move units all together.
Right.
Because there's going to be formations now, or in this game that I'm making, it's not a game, it's just a small modification, but there's going to actually be unit facings. You can get hit in the flank. There's going to be benefits if you're in a formation. So I haven't really nailed those down. I was play testing it just against myself, and like, for example, I gave the Romans, if they were in groups of 8, they would be considered in a formation. And if they were in the formation, they would get +1 to their defense, which actually is pretty powerful. It was so powerful that I had 3 groups of Romans just plow through about 5 10-man groups of Gauls with no problem. I'm thinking maybe I should probably tone that down a little bit. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's just going to be little additions to the game and removing the magic and the monsters.
So is it aimed specifically at ancients, or will it work, you think, for medievals, or do you have like a target? I'm thinking ancients because of what you already have on hand, but
yeah, it's pretty much designed for ancients. The 2 armies I have are Romans and Gauls, so I'm writing with those 2 armies in mind.
Cool. I'm sure once that kind of matures a little bit, we'll see some of that on the channel.
Yeah, definitely. I've played 2 games. I need to do some more tweaking. It's going to take a long time to actually get it to be perfect. Well, it's never going to be perfect, but so it's balanced, I should say.
Right.
That the testudo formation that the Romans can do, that's going to be in there. I was really surprised that when Rick Priestley wrote the rules for the Romans for Erewhon, that he didn't add any kind of testudo option at all for the Romans. It's kind of their signature move.
Is that the tortoise formation?
Yeah, where they put the shields up, kind of, and they cover the entire formation with the shields.
Yeah.
So definitely have that.
They're non-historical Romans in Warlords of Erewhon, so
yeah, they are non-historical, but I mean all the historical units are in there. It's just the game isn't really designed to be a historical game, so I'm thinking that my little mod might change that, because the mechanics of the game itself are a lot of fun, and I think they work well for hand-to-hand fighting. Mm-hmm. It's hard to do. Like in Chain of Command, the rules for assaults are kind of cumbersome and not super great, but it's not really designed for that either. But in the ancient world, that's pretty much all you had.
Right.
So there's the rules for close combat have got to be pretty solid for an ancients game, and I just think that the Warlords of Erewhon rules for fighting are pretty solid. So I thought, man, these would probably work pretty well for an actual formation, rank and flank type Ancients game.
Right. And that uses the order dice mechanic, right?
It does. Yeah, it uses a lot of the same, so all the same orders on the bolt action order dice apply to Warlords of Erewhon as well.
That's pretty cool. I feel like anytime somebody like talks about why they love bolt action, the order dice mechanic is always the first thing they bring up. So,
oh, it's great, man. Yeah, I mean that's what really sold me on it because I was a 40K player for years before that, and man, I just got so burned out so quick on that game.
yeah.
I think it was when 7th edition came out is when we just kind of lost it. I think it was 7th. Well, we played from 5th, like late 4th and 5th to the end of 6th, basically.
Gotcha.
And then I was just like, okay, I can't keep up. It's just too much stuff, man. I can't buy a codex every week.
Yeah. I used to do it as a kid, 40K. I had the Battle for Macrage box set. I don't know what edition that was.
That was, I think, 4th, because that's the same exact time I started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was an adult already, but yeah, I bought that because I was at the game store and some guy gave me a demo. I was looking at the models. I'm like, these are pretty cool.
Yeah.
I had never gamed before. And he's like, you want a little demo? So he gave me a squad of Space Marines. He had a squad of Space Marines, and we just fought against each other. And I was like, man, this is pretty damn cool. And then I walked out of there. I walked out of there with the Battle of Macragge set.
Yeah. With the down shuttle and everything.
Oh, that was sweet.
I mean, I lived out in the middle of nowhere, so I played with my brothers, but they were younger than I, and just didn't really have a community or anything for it, so it fizzled out pretty quick. But I remember having kind of an understanding of the rules, and I got back into wargaming about 2 years ago with bolt action, and sometimes I'll just see Warhammer stuff just in all the different feeds or on YouTube or whatever, and I can't follow any of it. I just have no idea. I've tried watching a battle report.
Yeah, I mean, I do love the fluff of 40K, and I read all the cool books. All the Dan Abnett books were the best. I mean, still some of my favorite books, I mean, of any genre I've ever read are Gaunt's Ghost series and Eisenhorn and Ravenor and all those guys. I mean, just really, really well written and exciting books. And ever since I read those, I do like but I mean, I guess it's changed. I haven't kept up on it, because now they got all these new Marines, and
yeah,
I'm just like, what the hell?
they were like, I saw Marines fighting Marines, and I'm like, I thought they were on the same side.
Yeah, and then when 8th edition came out, and they stripped it down, they simplified it, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get back into it. So I mean, I love the models, I love the storyline. I just didn't like the game. I didn't like the rules.
Yeah.
And then they stripped it down, man. It's completely different. It was very simple, almost too simple. I remember when it first came out, I don't know if this has changed, but terrain had no effect. It either blocked line of sight or it didn't. And I think that was all it did. I'm like, what the hell? That's a weird, it should do something. And then, so I played it, and sure enough, the avalanche of new armies and new codexes and supplements and everything started coming out, and I'm like, man, I just can't do this.
Right.
It's 40K is what I call a full-time game. Like,
oh yeah,
if you play 40K, that's it. I mean, for me at least, that'd be all I would be able to play, because it would take all my brain power to know the rules of my own army. Plus, you have to know the rules of every other army as well, so that you can know what you're doing if you're going to play them.
And not to mention that would probably be your entire hobby budget, just with the price of models and paints.
Yeah, that that too. They are very expensive.
I've I've kind of just gone forward with the notion that I'm not stuck in 28 millimeter World War II, but it's just gonna be my sweet spot. I'm like interested in all historical periods, especially. Um, I do play. I think you know the game Gloomhaven. Yeah,
Yeah, mine has that. I painted up the models for him for that. It comes with like a handful of good guy models.
yeah, yeah. I did.
Yes.
My brother-in-law got it, and we started playing it. It's a fun game. Like it's a good way for us to hang out. You know, it's not something I would ever invest on my own, but yeah, for his birthday, I was like, "Hey, you got a lot of unpainted models. I can do that for you. They look really cool."
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's a great gift.
Yeah, so I've got a couple World War II armies. Um, I played a little bit of Blood Red Skies. I don't know if you've ever played around with that.
I've never played that. I mean, I know about it, but I haven't actually tried it.
It's a good fun game. It's like it's it's fast, really easy to pick up. Kind of got it as more of if I want to get some of my family members into wargaming, it's much easier than even like a bolt action.
Right. Oh, for sure. Yeah, those are designed for that. They're perfect for kind of gateway drug type games.
Yeah, exactly. You don't have to set up any terrain or anything. You just put them on the table.
Yeah, that's a definitely a positive.
For sure.
Setting up terrain is yeah. I'm lucky I have a big room where I can just leave my table up, but I used to live in a place where I had to set up my board and completely break everything down every time we played, and that it got to be a hassle.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, it's not even just throwing it on the table. You got to do it in a way that matches the terrain you're trying to like whatever scenario you're trying to create. Or if you're just going for game balance, it takes some thought to that.
Yeah, yeah. Coming up with maps is hard, but I've kind of figured out that I used to kind of when I was building the board, I was thinking too big, like too much of an area.
Hmm.
Lately, I've decided I'm zooming in a little bit. So what I mean by that is like a yard, like fences on 3 houses. Like I'm doing a board right now for Friday for a chain of command game we're going to do. And before I would kind of just cut off a fourth or a half of the board with a fence.
Hmm.
But now I have enough fences that I can make individual yards for each house.
Yeah.
And that's what I mean by zooming in. It's like, okay, I'm actually looking into these people's backyard now instead of just a big field that they live behind. And I think it makes for more interesting maps because I mean these games are happening on small levels, platoon size,
Right.
and trying to make your map too big by putting too much stuff on it, or I don't know. It's hard to explain, but zooming in is kind of is what I call it.
That game you're setting that for the Saipan campaign.
Mm-hmm. Oh, well, all those maps are done already.
Oh, okay. So you just have to.
Yeah, that's one of the beauties of the campaigns for Chain of Command is they show you exactly what the map is supposed to look like. And all the maps are taken from actual maps of the battlefield.
Yeah.
So it always looks I mean, every time I've ever set up a pint-sized campaign map, it's just always looked cool. It just looks natural. It's like, man, this just looks like something you would see in real life as opposed to when I try to just make one out of my head. Like, I just can't seem to get it to look right. But they always look right
Right.
because they're always taken from actual maps.
And it just adds to the authenticity too. Playing
Yeah,
real.
yeah. Yeah, and if you've seen some of our chain of command videos, or those specifically the pint-sized campaigns, a lot of them have a lot of open ground, more open ground than you would see in any other game. I mean, I've played on chain of command maps where, I mean, there's a building and a hedge, and the rest was like all open. But that's what it looked like in the area they actually fought the battle in. So that's what the map looks like.
And you got to figure out what to do with the situation you're given. It's not a.
Yeah, I mean, you're not always going to have a perfect, approach area. But I mean, you have the tools to deal with it.
Right.
You can drop smoke with a mortar. If you're lucky enough to have a 2-inch mortar, you could drop a bunch of smoke. But there are ways around it, and that's just the game. It's just learning how to deal with crossing big areas of open ground.
Yeah, I hope one day I can get some real chain of command gaming in. Like I said, I think like that's really the game I want to be playing. Accessibility here is kind of the issue at the moment. But just using real tactics to kind of deal with those situations, I think is a very big draw for me. And I know just in like interviews I've heard from the guys at Too Fat Lardies, that was exactly their point in making the game.
Yeah, and I think if you have a shop that is full of historical guys, I don't think you would have a problem getting one of them to try chain of command.
Right.
I mean, all you got to do is just tell them, hey, if you want to play a game with actual tactics, that's still fun to play. I mean, some of the games that are realistic are just boring.
Right.
But this one is realistic and it's not boring. So I mean, if you have historical gamers, I don't really think you would have a problem getting one of them to try it.
Yeah, I think it's the investment, because you got to get someone interested and then you got to play a couple games to learn. And then, like we've said, the best way to play is a campaign. And definitely not a game that favors like just showing up and throwing models on the table. You can do that for sure, but where it really shines is that campaign format.
It does. But even the one-off games can be, because when you're playing a one-off game, your mentality is different. So you don't mind wasting a platoon if you're just playing a pickup game. And it can be quite exciting when you're rushing across open ground and not caring. But I think the only time you really see those games where no one fires or no one loses anyone is in a campaign. Because if you're playing a pickup game, that probably would never happen because there'd be no reason to.
Right. That's actually a really good point. It'd be probably much more shooty as a pickup game.
Oh yeah, it's very shooty as a pickup game because no one cares what happens. They want to shoot. So, I brought a Tiger tank. I'm going to get it out there and shoot and blast away.
Run them out there.
Oh man, the Tiger tanks, and that's one thing that you would love about Chain of Command is the tanks are actually something to be feared.
Oh yeah.
Like if there's a tiger out there, you actually do have tiger fear.
It's not like a rule. You're actually scaring your opponent. He's scrambling to deal with it.
Well, they don't have a rule for that, but just in the guy's head,
Exactly.
It's almost impossible to kill one of those things unless you have a super dedicated anti-tank unit or get super lucky.
Right.
It's a tiger. It's exactly like it should be. It costs a lot of points, but it's going to dominate. You're going to have a hard time trying to take it out.
Right. Well, I've got the armies for it, so I just got to find a willing player.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have a problem at your local game store.
Definitely been interested because I saw that they're putting out a Pacific campaign book.
Yeah, I've heard about that coming out. It's going to be similar to their Blitzkrieg 1940 book that they came out with last year, which was really awesome.
I've got the Japanese, so I'm ready to go. I've got some friends that play Marines, so.
So what else do you have besides Japanese?
So I've got, I guess my first army was U.S. paratroopers. I bought the Band of Brothers bolt action box.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. I remember now. Of course.
Ended
you
up.
Got Germans?
I had Germans for a while. I ended up selling basically all the plastic airborne and the plastic Germans.
Yeah, those plastic airborne were crap.
Yeah, they're not my favorite. I think I've just am completely on to metal models now. I think the sculpts tend to be a little more crisp, and I like the weight of them.
Yeah, I definitely like metal models. If I had a choice, I would definitely go metal, but man, like with the Romans, I would love to have, 48 or whatever metal Romans, but man, that would be pretty pricey.
So yeah, and 28 millimeter, that would be pretty insane.
It would be awesome. I mean, there's some beautiful Republican era Roman metal out there. They're just really nice, but it's like $12 for 5 of them or something. I don't know. It's pretty steep.
Yeah. So
I got all these Romans for free, and it's like, well, I might as well just stick with them. So what the hell?
Yeah, so I converted to metal for the airborne. I ended up making a German winter platoon.
Oh yeah, yeah. I remember now. Yeah, it looks really good.
I think I used it
on
Instagram. Yeah, I think I used it in 1 or 2 games, and then just never used it. And I actually ended up selling them to a guy in Australia, I think, just to kind of fund the next army.
Oh, you got rid of those?
I got rid of everything except I've got a Yag Panther. That's like my favorite tank, and so it's pretty much just a display model right now. But
they are really cool looking tanks.
I mean, in bolt action, you wouldn't ever take them because they're 1,000,000 points. But
yeah,
which
is sad. It's sad, but I had an idea which I want to try. I think maybe in the next bolt action game we play, I want to try something, because like in Warlords of Erewhon, the big monsters, the really expensive models, they have 2 order dice. So when you give, so I was thinking, what if you gave a Panther, a bigger tank, like a IS-2, 2 order dice? Suddenly the tank becomes a lot more potent, a lot more to be feared, and just a lot more effective if he was able to activate twice per turn.
Right.
And I think that alone would make it worth taking the bigger tanks. Because I played against monsters in Erewhon with 2 order dice, and it's all right. Oh man, he's still got another one to go, and now I guess still got to think about what he's going to do. That also allows you to rally. If you get pins, you can use one to rally and still fire. You can move twice. You could fire. I mean, it's pretty potent, and I think that's exactly what the big tanks, the expensive tanks, would need to make it worth taking.
Yeah, that would be really interesting to see how that would play out, because it's very much a letdown to bring your 450, 500 point tank to not do anything at all, or
completely
fire, and just how the way the bolt action works, to just be using machine guns, because you're so much more likely to do damage with those than your giant anti-tank gun.
Oh, exactly. I think that's why they put those in version 2. They put the templates. They gave the super heavy anti-tank gun has like a 3-inch template.
Yeah, that's
which same as a medium. So I mean, it is effective, but if you're gonna If you just want to bring a 3-inch template, then just bring like a priest or a Vesp or some cheap open top light armored self-propelled artillery and be done with it. That's what I always do.
It's a big template, but then you're only rolling 1 dice to hit. So if you don't have any good targets, then you're tiger sitting there, soaking up points. So,
and that's my biggest problem with chain of command and tanks bolt action and tanks is, well, you have the limited turn and you have 1 chance to hit. If you miss, you just wasted. If you break up however many points by however many turns, you can compute how many points you just wasted.
Yeah.
But it's not like that. It's like the HE. Say something's a bigger gun would be like HE 14.
Mm-hmm.
And you would roll 14 dice, and every single one of those that was a 4+ would be a hit. So you're never going to do nothing. You're always going to do something. Unless your HE is real low, like a light mortar or something with 3 HE. Yeah, you could miss with that. But if you're going to pay a bunch of points for a Brum bar or something and bring it in, you're going to get your support points out of it because it's always going to do something.
Right.
Unless it gets out.
Not to mention rolling 14 dice, or really any number of dice, is better than rolling 1 to hit. It's just more exciting as a player. So
yeah, I
like how it's done for sure.
Yeah, I would love them to redo, if they ever made bolt action 3 I would love them to actually do the D10 system like they have in Erewhon and Taris in bolt action. It would be really fun, but I don't know if they'll actually drastically change it like that.
That would be a really big change for sure. But
yeah, coming from a company who won't even print new books because they don't want to upset anyone. Like, what are you kidding? Haven't you ever seen Games Workshop? That's all they do is put out new books, and people buy them.
You get people hooked, and then you print out the books. It's just a marketing strategy. It should work.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, man, version 2 of bolt action. This is your chance to make a bunch of money on all new books. I know people are complaining about, well, I don't want to buy a new book, and it's like, okay, come on.
Yeah.
But they caved in. They didn't revamp it. They just revised it, and it's quite a bit different. Did you play version 1 or just version 2?
I got in a version 2. I've heard a lot of the differences. I've seen old battle reports that the version 1. So it wasn't anything earth-shattering, the changes, but
yeah, I definitely think it's an improvement over version 1. The only thing that I don't like, or Andre doesn't like either, is that they brought the templates back.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, the way before was, I like the way they did it before, because in version 1, if you hit, the different size guns would have different amounts of D6s that they roll for amounts of hits.
Yeah.
And I thought that worked well. And then when you're moving, you didn't have to worry about, well, I can't bunch up because a 2-inch template mortar might hit me. And
right.
It actually saved quite a bit of time not having to worry about templates.
Yeah, and for a game that seems to be all about streamlining and not getting too deep into things or slowing things down, I feel like it's obvious choice to stick with it.
Yeah.
We'll just have to see.
And Warlords.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, in Warlords of Erewhon, they have templates, but they do it differently in that game. In that the template is kind of a hybrid of the two. The template determines what units get hit, and then you roll to see how many guys. So it's not the number of guys. The template just determines how many units. So if you don't have any units bunched together, you're only going to get hit 1 unit. So it's kind of compromise between the template and the old D6 version 1 method.
That sounds better. Just that one simple fix.
Yeah, it's really cool because you still don't have to worry about bunching up or not, and you still have the fun of the scatter, because I do like to scatter with the templates. I mean, that part of the game is fun, but the headache it causes with movement kind of negates the fun of that.
Right. We'll just have to see. I hear version 3 is in the works, but there's not like a planned release date or anything. So maybe.
Yeah, that's what I've heard just from listening to podcasts. I think at least Alessio himself, I was listening to Brad's Cast Dice, and he was talking to him, Alessio, and he asked him that exact question. And I think he was saying, well, it's not even really a glimmer in anyone's eye at this point. It could be a glimmer. Okay, maybe it's a glimmer, but it's not gone beyond that.
For sure. They got plenty of other game systems and releases they're doing already. So.
Oh man, yeah, they're coming out with all kinds of games.
Like
every week they come out with a new game.
I know, it's too many to keep up with. I want to play all of them, but never will I ever. Just don't have the time or the money.
Yeah. Yeah, there's only so many games you can play. I mean, myself, I think, well, my personal rule used to be 3 games, but I've blown past that now.
Yeah. So Travis, I've only got a couple minutes left. Last thing I wanted to ask you about, I saw some Facebook posts and from various people about Patmocon 2020.
Yeah.
I was wondering if you could shed some details on that. I wasn't exactly sure what was going on, but
yeah, I can do that.
Convention of sorts.
Yeah, so with the whole COVID-19 thing, it's shut down the whole world, and along with that, all the gaming conventions got shut down everywhere. I mean, all the UK ones, the big ones here in the US who got shut down, and that's left a lot of people bummed. And Dan from Paint All the Minis, he decided he was going to try to do an online convention. So he contacted a bunch of vendors, gaming companies, and they're all jumped on board. And what they're going to do is Dan set up a Discord server, and he's gave channels, which are kind of like virtual booths at a convention, to all these different companies, and they're all going to interact with the attendees, and they're going to show new stuff and give discounts on their products. And there's going to be like Tabletop CP will be there. I mean, virtually be there. We did a battle report last night, exclusive for the Paint All the Minis convention. We're going to do a live stream on Saturday of a Chain of Command game. And then there's other YouTube battle report channels that are going to be doing similar things as well. So you're going to have battle reports, live streams of battle reports. You're going to have live interactions with the gaming industry. Like Lardy Rich is going to be there doing, having talks with people, kind of like, what do they call them? Seminar type things. I believe he's going to talk about game design. I think I saw that somewhere. Don't quote me on that, but and then other companies are going to be showing off new products or whatever they're going to do. I don't know exactly what each of them is going to do, but they're all going to be doing something special.
That's super cool. I've been very impressed with kind of how the hobby community as a whole has been able to almost like shell out more content and more community events in the midst of pretty much everybody being locked down. I mean, some simple kind of like Osprey Books has been giving away free ebooks every week. I don't know if you've seen that.
Yeah, I did. I actually got the Frostgrave rules when they were giving them out. Not that I have time to learn a new rule set, but I have them now. It's a game I've been interested in.
Hey, they're free. Might as well grab them.
Yep.
grabbed a couple of the books that they're selling out, and um, I mean, I've even noticed just with myself, I'm on Instagram mostly is how I interact with people in the hobby.
Uh-huh.
But it's been a lot more just interaction, actually talking to people, starting up this video chat, which
Yeah, it's a great idea.
I've gotten a really good response, and people are much more willing to talk than I thought, and especially with some people like you, and the last one I did was with a guy called the Welsh Wargamer who have interacted with you guys a lot on social media, so just to like actually be able to talk, uh, in air quotes, paint minis together, but like I just feel that the community as a whole has done a really good job, and this Patmocon just sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a great idea. Yeah, and Dan's done tons of work on it. So kudos to Dan for that, because he's, he had the idea. He's done all the legwork to get everyone together and all on the same weekend. And
Yeah.
of course, I guess now when everyone's home anyway, it's not as hard to do.
Right.
Cool.
Cool. So where can people get signed up for that?
Well, if you go to the Paint All the Minis Facebook group, there'll be a post there, or even the Tabletop CP Facebook group. If you scroll through there, you'll find it. I believe Paint All the Minis has a website as well. Probably paintalltheminis.com. I don't know exactly,
Okay.
but it should be on there as well, I would hope. And if it's not, I will have Dan put it on there. But yeah, mainly Facebook.
Yeah.
Or Twitter. You could probably find it as well, because Dan has a Twitter thing as well.
Perfect. Well, that sounds like a super cool event, and people to be able to jump on that. I think that's a great idea. So kudos to everyone who set that up.
Yeah, for sure.
Hey, Travis, thanks so much for hanging out and chatting and doing some painting. I found out this the last time I did this, but I thought I could paint and hold a conversation and do well. And
it's not as easy as it sounds.
I think it looks like my screen's a little dark. Maybe I'll post a picture up on Instagram or a story, but I got some of the colors blocked in. But
if you're just doing blocking and then do all the detail work when you can concentrate a little bit more.
Right. So, Travis, thanks so much again for hanging out and talking. So you got your YouTube channel, Tabletop CP. Facebook group is also called Tabletop CP, right?
Yeah, everywhere. Pretty much every social media platform I've tried to become part of with Tabletop CP. So I'm sure there's some I missed, but the main ones I think I've joined.
Mm-hmm. Instagram, I know you're on Instagram. I think.
Yeah, Twitter. I just started a Twitter account not that long ago. I try to throw different things on there. I mean, why would I just post the same thing everywhere? I should try to mix it up a little bit, and I try to. Right. It's not easy.
Try to do that between Facebook and Instagram, or I'll do similar things but at different times. And
yeah, it's all good. Just interacting with each other's fun, seeing what everyone's doing and their progress, and seeing what everyone's excited about. It's fun. So
yeah. Well, hey, dude, thanks, and just stay safe while we're in lockdown and doing what you're doing, because it's working, and I'm a big fan, and at least 4,000 people are also big fans. So
yeah, cool. Well, thanks for having me on, man. Appreciate it.
you bet. We'll
all right.
see you later.